Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Nope. It's fans trashing yet another superhero movie that doesn't deserve it. So let's talk about Supergirl. Now, was it interesting? Before I talk about the actual movie, the fact that it isn't making a lot of money is because a lot of people aren't seeing it. But what I don't understand is a lot of people who hated Zack Snyder and hated Man of Steel and hated the Snyderverse, those people want this universe rebooted. So it was rebooted. I would have thought that people would have been in support of this new universe, but now you wanted one universe to be done for, and now you want this one to fail too. So, do DC fans just not want DC movies? I don't understand that. So, anyway, the box office financials is just kind of a disappointment because I would have expected a ton of people to see this, whether they had just a little bit of interest, a lot of interest, whether they thought they were going to like it or not. I thought there would just be a ton of people seeing it regardless, but that's not what's happening. So we have a lot of DC fans that wanted one universe to fail and now wants this one to fail too. So let's hope that doesn't happen because I think this universe has a pretty good start. I did like movies of the last one. Did I like all of them? No. Did I think it had to be rebooted? No. Now that it is, am I enjoying the new movies? Yeah. So I'm just sort of always been in the middle. I've never been a comic book fan just because I just never read them. So I can't compare these movies to the comics, but what I can do is compare movies to the other ones and of course previous iterations. So when it comes to this new universe, yes, it's not as dark as Man of Steel was. Superman, there was a lot of comedy, there's a lot of colorful just storylines and characters and stuff thrown in there. It felt like there was a lot going on, but that was because it was not only the first movie in this new universe, but James Gunn was trying to set up so much too. We now have Lantern set up, Supergirl was set up, Justice League is slowly being set up, there's Superman 2 is being set up. There's a lot of projects being built up based off of that one film alone. So Supergirl isn't necessarily this next building stone. This is just her story. We learn a little bit about her past. It's not entirely skipped over, but we don't get a start from the beginning kind of movie with her. We pick up where we left off at the end of Superman, where she's still in space with Crypto, and we do get glimpses of her past, but that's not how the movie opens, and that's not some 20-minute opening. It's just we get pieces of that throughout the movie. So for this movie, I thought it was pretty good. Is it my favorite comic book movie? No. But is it one of the worst? No, it is far, far from one of the worst. It was actually really good. I liked the action. I thought the CGI looked fine. I thought the acting was pretty good. Lobo was fun. There's a lot of neat stuff in there that I really don't understand the hate for this one. Like I said, if you don't think this was the most exciting, epic, strongest superhero movie of all time, yeah, I get that. But to say that it's just so horrible, I just don't understand. Maybe I'm just out of the loop because I just think the actress is great. The movie was pretty good and it was fun. And I got exactly what I wanted from a Supergirl movie. I want a neat story, fun action, and it's the next piece in this new universe. So her story is very interesting because I've seen some versions of Supergirl, but not a lot of other versions. So I was familiar with the concept of Argo, which was a part of her origin or backstory in this movie, where her parents are still alive. There are a few survivors from Krypton, but it doesn't really work out. Argo ends up getting poisoned, so Kara ends up being the new sole survivor from Argo. So I don't know if, since everyone was dying in Argo, I don't know if they will have eventually figured out a way to survive and they could be survivors or villains or what have you in a later storyline, or if they're just meant to have all died off. I don't know. It's left a little vague, and I think that's done on purpose so that there's some suspense for the character and this family for later on. So this movie, there are a lot of comparisons to Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think the comparison just means it is an easy story to follow, an easy reason to root for the main character, and it's an easy way to get emotionally invested with the characters in the story. Much like Guardians 3, Rocket was injured early on in the film, and his friends go off on a journey throughout space to find a way to save him. And that's sort of kind of what happens with Crypto, where Crypto gets injured early on in the film. So Supergirl, she ends up finding a couple allies along the way, but goes on a space adventure to go find a way to save him. So, in the most oversimplification of a blueprint, yes, it's similar, but there's so much more to the movie than just that. It was more than that in Guardians, it was more than that in Supergirl. That's just the way you can compare them. And so, what's interesting is this movie, I don't know a lot about the character from a comic origin standpoint, but I do know that Supergirl is meant to be a slightly darker character than Superman. She's supposed to be a little bit more violent, a little bit more darker. Obviously, she has a little bit of a darker backstory, of course. And so, in this movie, we see darker villains. There are the things the villains are doing. Yeah, there's no way to root for them. It's not like, it's not like Thanos where, you know what, he might have a point. It's out of line, but he might, that's not the case with this one. It's these people, the villains are kidnapping people, and they're doing what they want to these people, so they got to go. That's a villain. That's a reason to root for the main character, root for Supergirl. But she doesn't just fight to take them down. A couple allies she meets along the way, they have their own vendetta against these people. And so those stories kind of intertwine into what is the meaning of revenge? What is it going to get you? Is it going to be worth it? Is it worth it for this character? Is it worth it for that character? And so Supergirl and her allies, they're kind of like, they're questioning these things, or she's forcing these characters to question it. And she's trying to be the responsible one, despite her partying in the beginning and despite being drunk a lot of the time. She's still trying to be the responsible one because of what her parents had said, where they just wanted her to be good. And I think because Superman had said the same or similar thing to her. What's interesting is there's a line between Kara and her mother in this movie that I think was a very smart piece of dialogue to put in the film, because I think it perfectly explains what her character is all about and what her character should be. There was a line where her mother tells her that she has to be good, but it doesn't mean that she has to be nice, and it doesn't mean that she can't be tough, but just be good. I think that's not only a quote for a lot of us to take to heart, because I thought it was just a really clever line, but it works for her character. It works for this universe and this world building aspect in this new DC universe. But I just think it was clever because that's sort of the focal point of her character. Because Supergirl is tough. There are times she's not nice, but she's the good guy. She's the hero. I think that line summed up probably the whole movie, and I just thought it was really, really cool. So, in my opinion, props to whoever came up with that line, because I thought that was great. And then there are some people, I can see them being annoyed, but I hardly see why this would be a complaint. Yes, she doesn't wear the Supergirl suit for a majority of the film until the end. But that's also how it is with a lot of superhero movies now, or the way it was. There's a lot of movies where the main characters don't wear the suit for a majority of the time, and then they will toward the end. So that's just sort of been a trope. So I could see people being annoyed by that, but like I said, I hardly see that being a valid complaint. It was just something that was noticed. But without being Supergirl, she was just able to just be Kara with her friends that she's making. And we learn more about her, and she's learning who she is. So I think the fact that she decided to wear her suit toward the end is because that's when she realizes, her home, Krypton, is gone, but she still has Krypto. And she mentions during the movie that home is where he is, and it's where Clark is. And so she's realizing, even though she doesn't have Krypton, she still has a home. She still has her family. And so I think that's sort of, she puts on the suit as a part of being a part of that that identity with Superman, with that family. And so I thought it was just the way it all came together. And yes, the villain does meet a fatal end at the hands of Supergirl, which gives her that darker tone that Superman, especially this Superman, just doesn't have. So it was just really interesting to see her character played out in this film because, like I said, I thought the acting was really good. Thought the story was handled very well. It was exciting. There was a lot of fight scenes. It was fun to watch, and it was just a cool movie. So I definitely encourage if anyone who isn't on the Millie Alcock hate train or someone who's not on the Supergirl hate train, if you have a slight interest in this new DC universe or in her story in this movie or even interest with the actress and her work, check out this movie because I think this movie deserves to be supported more than it has. I think it's definitely being trashed for, in my opinion, really no reason. Everyone's just making fun of her appearance, and yes, the posters aren't great, but that's also on marketing. You can't entirely. I don't think that the posters can completely. I don't think the responsibility of that falls on the director or what the movie is or what it's about, because the movie is so much better than just the main posters make it seem like maybe it is. And for all the animal lovers, yes, Crypto is definitely the heart of this film, even though he may have much less screen time than maybe expected. He's very much the heart of the film, and I just think it's a really cool thing to see because James Gunn is very much an animal lover, and you can see that in Superman, where Superman even saves a squirrel. I mean, the attention to those sorts of things in these movies so far is just really nice to see. So, as a casual DC fan, I would call myself. Was I a fan of Man of Steel? Yes, absolutely. Am I a fan of David Cornsweet's Superman? Yes, I thought the movie was really good. I can be a fan of both, and I think the whole idea of DC fans where you can only like one or the other, it's the same thing with Star Wars where you can only either like the prequels or the originals or the sequels. This whole having to pick one or the other thing is just tiring because as a fan of movies, I know that there are comic books with one storyline of Superman, there are comic books with a different storyline for Superman, and I know the multiverse is a concept in the comics long before the MCU introduced it into their movies. So the fact that for those who've read all the comics or read hundreds of comics, you get multiple versions of Superman. We get multiple versions of Spider-Man, multiple versions of Batman. So as a movie lover, to have multiple versions of these characters, the fact that the newest one has to be trashed every time just for being the new one, I don't understand it because I just think it's cool that we get multiple versions. I mean, look at Batman. You have the ones with Michael Keaton. Those are a very comic book style kind of humor, kind of film. And then you look at The Dark Knight. It's a very serious, darker film. And then you look at Robert Pattinson's The Batman. That's full-on detective mode, or the detective vibes, detective style. So the fact that it's the same way with Superman, it feels, and the same way with these other comic book characters that are recast a few times, I just think it's cool that we get to see a new version of it, and I think it's cool that we got a second or third or fourth version without it just being ended and gone forever. So I'm excited to see where the DC Universe goes from here. There's been slight leaks, if you can believe the rumors, that Lex Luthor has his Lexo suit in Superman Man of Tomorrow. There has been word that Supergirl will have quite a bit of screen time in the new Superman movie as well, because as you would expect, throughout, as the trailer suggests, Superman, Clark, he's reaching out to Kara saying, hey, when are you coming home? She decides at the end of the movie she is going home. She and Krypto finally go back, stay with Superman. So you have these three Kryptonian characters together again. And assumingly it's going to start off that way and stay that way throughout the next film as well. And so I'm excited. I think it's cool that we're getting these storylines. It's cool to see where it's going. And I think the Snyderverse had a fair run. I thought there were good movies in there. I thought there were some not so great movies in there. But this new DCU, I think it's a pretty good start, and I have a lot of faith and hope in what is going to come next from James Gunn's vision for this DC universe. So I hope that people have as much interest as I do, because I just think it's cool that we're getting these stories. That is not over, because Warner Brothers could have easily just decided no more DC at all. There doesn't need to be any more movies. The fact that we're still getting DC movies, I think is awesome. So, as a movie fan, as a comic character fan, as a Superman fan, I think it's cool. So, that's my review. I would say watch Supergirl. It's a lot better than what people are on the internet are saying about it, because I don't think a lot of it's fair. I don't think it's really warranted either. I think the movie deserves a lot better than what is being said about it. So, yeah, check it out, guys. It was pretty good. That's all. That's it. Keep it digging.